In January, I realized it had almost been a year since I started the Wheel of Time series and I'd only read 2 books. Suddenly, I wanted to burn through them like they were Saidar. But in doing so, I've hit burnout with the series. Having said that, this might actually still be my favorite book in the series so far. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why I loved it so much, but why it's still causing burnout. Let's start with characters. Our 3 Ta'veren got a lot of attention and had a lot of growth, which is one of my biggest compliments to the Shadow Rising. Robert Jordan moved away from the all-too plot-driven formula in exchange for a more character-driven plot. No longer is Rand being driven around by Moraine, the Pattern, or Robert Jordan. He's making decisions, seeking knowledge, all the good main character stuff. Matt's interaction with the Elfin is really interesting to me. This was one of those moments that I went back and studied to make sure I understood what he said so that I could look out for what kind of blessing he got from them later in the story. I'm really excited to see how those wishes play out for him as the series progresses. And Perrin, seriously, all I have to say about Perrin is yes, yes, yes! Oh my gosh, I loved every minute of Perrin's story, including Faile. As I understand, Faile is one of the most hated characters in the series by the fandom. A lot of people were hating on her treatment of Perrin, but honestly, I personally felt like Perrin treated her just as badly. It was mutual, and she acted pretty well based on the information she was given. Now, her treatment of Loyal is different, but her treatment of Perrin made so much sense, and I think it's pretty lame that everybody hates her so much because she is just as stubborn and frustrating as every other character in this series. And that brings me to my first point on burnout. Too many characters in this series are stubborn. It was nice that Rand and Egwene seemed to not be so stubborn in this book. However, Perrin and Faile took up the mantle, and several other Aiel characters, including Aviendha. And honestly, I just need a break from the stubbornness. The romantic relationships in The Shadow Rising had some real arcs which I appreciated. However, I'm starting to feel like Robert Jordan has one gimmick when it comes to conflict in inter-character relations, and that's not just romantic relationships, that's all relationships in his books. Character A says or does something, and character B doesn't understand it and doesn't try to understand. Sometimes it comes off as comical, but because it's done so often, it's starting to become annoying, and again, I need a break from it. The setting. The setting is one of my favorite parts about the Wheel of Time, and honestly, it's what's going to bring me back to this series. Another high point of The Shadow Rising was, besides the new places that we got to visit, the increased exploration of the dream world. As plot goes, I loved the ending. In my opinion, The Shadow Rising had the best ending out of the first 4 Wheel of Time books. I'm so excited for Rand to finally have a teacher, and especially that it's this Forsaken. I really want to see Rand's journey with this new character. My only real complaint about the plot was the pacing. The Shadow Rising could have used a word count cut. Several times I read 1 sentence per paragraph for 3 or 4 pages and didn't really miss much. These were often long monologues or a very long series of flashbacks about characters that I don't really care about. I know, you guys have already told me that some of the boring parts have some really cool foreshadowing. I'm just gonna say, if it's not interesting for me to read, it's not cool foreshadowing to me. Plus, if the word count and other sections had been dropped, it could have left some space for a chapter, maybe 2 chapters of Min. I loved having more of Min, but it wasn't enough. We get this huge foreshadow at the beginning of the story and kind of don't really get much attention to it the rest of the book. I read books 3 and 4 back to back and tried to read them pretty fast, and I think that was a huge part of the problem. But either way, with the foretold dreaded slog coming up, I'm not sure if I need a break or if this might be the end of my Wheel of Time journey. Either way, I will not be trying to binge the Wheel of Time ever again. If all this talk of binging has gotten you hungry for more Wheel of Time videos, check out this playlist of my entire WOT journey. See you guys in the next adventure.